All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Deep End. I'll be honest with you guys. Me and Ari have pretty much already done half of this episode before we started recording. We're having a ball. We're having a good time. And I'll tell you what, my man Ari over there he's crazier than a road lizard over there in Cabo San Lucas this week. Someone said, man, I think someone said last week or a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was us, that this podcast might as well just be like your new travel log, and it's totally true. I mean, at least the last maybe 4 or 5 episodes at this point, you are in a different place every time. And actually, Damien, our friend Damien, in the comments from last week's episode, at this pace, he said, at this pace, Ari is going to become a social media travel agent. I could see it, man. That's totally you.
We just weekly, I'm in a different place. You get a different background, different weather report, and a different recommendation. But this is, what a life, man. I'm really blessed. I'm really fortunate to just keep this show on the road, so to speak. And I was thinking about this earlier today, Ryan. Like, this is truly, when I say like live your rich life, this is it for me. Like, I am living my rich life, and I can't go back to just hanging around, my apartment all the time,
Well, actually, that brings up a good point. I mean, what's the plan from here? I mean, because you are going back home, I think, this weekend, at least for a little bit. But I mean, is there another trip in the books? Is this pretty much your MO moving forward? Just like use the apartment as a base camp, but
well,
try
the lease officially ends in like 2 months. I might extend it for like a
Okay.
month or two, but that's for no other reason other than just kind of figure out a better game plan for 2026. But a lot of crazy things are coming up in 2026, and I have given thought to moving to Thailand.
Really moving.
Yep, moving to Thailand or Bali.
Is that
So
where
my
is Jason Fieber in Thailand? Sorry to
I
cut you
haven't
off.
spoken to Jason in years. Like,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know where he disappeared to.
Man.
Like, no one, I haven't, even other people that I've spoken to don't know where Jason is right now. Like, I hope he's doing well and he's probably living it up. But I haven't even seen a new video of his. Maybe if anybody
No.
else out there in the comments can throw that down there. This is like an SOS for Jason. But I
Well,
haven't spoken to him.
he's still kicking, man. He just recently put out an article on Seeking Alpha, and he'll do that from time to time. I mean, I think he's done on YouTube. He's probably at a point, now that I'm thinking about it, he's probably just at a point where he doesn't need to do it. He's probably just good off his dividends, writing every once in a while to, I don't know, just share his thoughts. But other than that, I mean, as you know, this can be a full-time job. So he's like, what's the point? Trying to
Mr.
avoid
Free
that.
at 33, and so he was.
Yeah.
And
But man,
so he
Thailand,
remains.
that would be quite the move. Thailand or Bali. Is that just because the cost of living there is more affordable, or what's the draw to those places?
Just a lifestyle, it's like all the whole lifestyle there. It's I can see myself just totally being there and enjoying for like a year or two and using that as a launch pad to travel all of East Asia. The thing is, I have a dog, so she's gonna have to come with me, and we're about to have a wild adventure of a year if I do this. But
Yeah.
I think one of my first moves will probably be to go back home for a brief moment, and maybe about a month. Just take, like, when I say moment, probably a month, and generate my plan, and then probably by the end of the year fly out to East Asia just to see if I like it, to see where I'd want to land, and also just to do some traveling without my dog, for like a good month and a half, and then come back with a solid game plan. But I did meet someone here in Cabo, and like, always a crazy story, man. But
Is this what you were going to tell me before we started
yeah,
recording, and then you were like, "Oh no, let me save it."
yeah, there was like a
Okay.
couple things. Man, I have like a list of things that I was like, let me tell Ryan, and then
Well, I feel like it's been a week, but I feel like it's been a long time since we've talked. I feel like a lot's been going on.
well, man, I mean, we both of us have been up to things. You've been up to dad things. I've been up to like solo travel things.
Yeah.
And both of
Been
those
up to
things.
my Up to my elbows in diapers.
Yeah, man. That's just before this. You were changing a diaper out. So I mean, you talk about really living, man. I mean, you're living a dream, a very different dream, but nonetheless a dream.
Yeah, well, let me tell you this. All of you dads out there, all of you parents out there, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. But I want everyone to know that Procter and Gamble in the diaper department, Procter and Gamble, at least in our household, has the advantage. Procter and Gamble is the favored brand with their Pampers diapers over Kimberly Clark's Huggies. As a shareholder of Procter and Gamble, I was very happy to have that happen. And just without giving too much detail, Huggies and Kimberly Clark, it just doesn't keep it in. Does not keep it in. So we need some more support. We need to keep it tight, and Pampers does not disappoint, or has not so far. So shout out Procter and Gamble.
Are you invested in Procter and Gamble still?
Oh yeah, and might even be more so after having this baby. So yeah, we're all Procter and Gambled up over here.
We maybe get some sponsorships from Procter and Gamble. Get Ryan in some commercials.
Yeah, I would, dude. That'd be awesome. Love it.
A Pampers dad, a PG Pampers dad.
Or some Old Spice, at least. I could certainly use that. Crest toothpaste. Sure. Yeah, I definitely need some of that. So
all the product. Yeah.
Man. Anyway, sorry, man. I did not mean to cut you off. Things are good over here. I think you were in the middle of saying something. You were going to tell me something.
Yeah. So Switzerland made the list now because, and I wanted to go to Switzerland anyways to do some hiking, but it just so happens that there was a Swiss traveler here, and we started talking, and so now Switzerland's on the list, and so I thought about changing my flight immediately to go to Switzerland right after Cabo, but I will probably just go home and then reroute and then meet this girl maybe in East Asia. Because here's the crazy part, man. I was walking around the resort area here yesterday, and in the morning I was like, I wonder what I'm gonna do for New Year's. Like, I don't just want to like hang around. That's boring, So I was like, who can I reach out to, and what would I do? And then all of a sudden I meet this girl here at the resort, and she basically like also a solo traveler, and she was like, yeah, I'm like was debating whether to go on this trip for New Year's with a friend, but the thing with that friend is like she's into EDM and like all that crazy music and like that stuff, and she's like, it's not really me. So I was like, wow, like this is perfect. So we might go to East Asia together. We'll see. We're planning some things, which is pretty cool. And yeah, man, that's like the big update. But like, it just feels like I'm living a very rich life, man. And I went skydiving again the other day, which was awesome. And it reifies my, live like a billionaire mentality.
Yeah. How do you feel? I mean, this is probably a dumb question, but do you feel ready to go home and have some normalcy, or could you stay out on the road, so to speak?
If I didn't have a dog, I'd be out. The show goes on.
You're good. Living out of the, well, I mean, it's not hard to like live out of an all-inclusive hotel, but you're
look out the window,
is cool.
Man. I got like the beach and water, and like it's not too hard to live here.
Okay, well, good. That's good.
But no, dude, I the only thing that keeps happening to me, is when I was on the Blossom tour, I was like, who wants to go, who's ready to go to Cabo now, or like, who's ready to go? And I forget that sometimes people are actually working, other jobs, like that were office jobs. And I have the great fortune of being able to work remote. I have the great fortune of being a creator. And of course, this all came with putting the work in earlier, as you know, like we all choose our path. And so I think even, some people might hear me say that and kind of get jealous or upset or like whatever, but it's like we all choose our path. And this was something I actually recorded this as I was skydiving down the other day. It was like you literally only live once. And I'm not talking about the YOLO people, like the idiotic YOLO people who are like, you only live once, like keg stand and like face plant into like, I don't know, the dance floor. I'm talking about like you only live once, so like make sure you work really, really hard to achieve what you want to achieve and then do what you want to do. That's my version of it.
No, I totally agree with that. You only have one life to live, and so you've got to make the most of it. And to your point, like people hear that and do, maybe take it in a bad direction, or you people will say that, but then use it financially at least as an excuse to spend, spend, spend because, you can't take it with you. So YOLO basically. And I don't think that's the right way to approach it. But yeah, I think it totally applies to, like you said, making the most of your time and just really going as heavy as you can and spending the most amount of time as possible on the things that really make you stoked about life. And that actually kind of reminds me of this book that I just got a couple of days ago. This one right
Man.
here. So this is for those of you listening to the podcast. I'm holding up Retire Often, the book Retire Often by Jillian Johnsrud. Is that how you pronounce her last name?
Are we breaking the news right now?
Yes, we need to break the news.
Let's break the news.
So
Ryan, break it.
Okay. So this book, guys, and we've talked about this before here in these episodes. One thing that Ari and I have thrown around the idea of doing for, like I said, numerous episodes is starting a book club. We'd love to start a book club. And we talked about it, I don't know if it was maybe last week or a couple weeks ago, just being like, hey, it's really time to actually bring this thing to life. Let's stop, kicking tires around. Let's actually do this. And so, we decided that this book here would be the first, I don't know if you call it installment, but it's going to be the first book that we're going to read in the official Deep End Book Club. And I don't know if we have all the details yet, but I do think, and Ari, jump in here if I'm screwing this up, but I think our plan for now is to start reading this book, start November 1st, by the end of November, go start to finish with the book. So basically finish it by the end of November. Then we can all get together. Anyone who's read the book and is interested in joining, we can all get together on a Zoom call and just talk it out. Talk about the themes of the book, talk about the key takeaways, maybe share some memorable quotes and what we got out of it. And then what we'd really like to do after that is pull questions from, those who are in the book club and actually do an interview, have a conversation with the book's author, and kind of, do what we do here in the Deep End, but also just talk about the book and, have the author answer some of the questions that we've pulled from you guys in the community. So that's our plan for now. Did I miss anything there?
You nailed it, man. I think first and foremost, we have some time for everybody to get their hands on that book. I met Jillian at FinCon, and so she is a beautiful soul. She's awesome. Very, very just free, someone who retires often. That's the nature. That's her nature.
Yeah.
So I did not start reading the book yet. I am personally waiting for everybody else to get their hands on the book so we can all read it kind of together. But yeah, as Ryan shared, we'll start reading this thing November 1st and hopefully wrap it all up by the end of November together to then jump on a Zoom call, a massive call together and just talk it out. But I think the coolest part about it is we have the opportunity to have Jillian join us. And should this go extremely well, guess what? This is only the beginning, and we're going to go ahead and do this with more books and more authors.
Yeah, that's the plan. And I think this book was a great place to start, and also it's totally relevant to this conversation because the whole premise of the book, not to get too deep into it too soon, but the whole premise of the book really is about maximizing your time. Just for some surface level context on the book, guys, it's basically about, the book basically walks you through how to take these mini retirements, instead of waiting, 30 or 40 years at the end of your career to retire indefinitely. What Jillian calls for, and what she's actually done, I think over a dozen times in her life, and I think she's only in her 40s, her and her husband will take these mini retirements. They'll take or sabbaticals or just, work breaks, whatever you want to call it. They'll just kind of take a temporary leave from work and do whatever it is they do and live life on their own terms.
Kind of like going to Cabo.
Kind of like going to Cabo, man. In fact, in the spirit of retiring often and taking sabbaticals, I think you still have about 5 more months until you go back home. I think you're in your mini retirement right now. Well, actually, with that said, I know you've been working, man, but have you been traveling for a month now? It's been it's been at least 3 weeks, right? It's been a decent amount of time.
It's been a month already, yeah.
So you're almost there. I think what the book considers a mini retirement, and I'm sorry, I'm getting too deep into it too soon, but I think what the book considers a mini retirement is like at least a month. So you're like almost there, pretty much.
I might as well stay at that rate. Why not make
Dude,
it the full mini retirement?
why not? I think you'd be doing a disservice to yourself and also to Jillian. I think she'd be insulted if you didn't go for another week,
Look,
actually.
the last trip I was on, it was a month and a half, almost 2 months actually. Um, but 2026 is going to be one heck of a year. There's a lot in the works for 2026 coming down the pipe,
Is
and
there
I'm
any
extremely excited.
any is there any color you can add to that, or is this under wrap stuff? What's is there anything cooking that you can share with us, or
Yeah,
TBD?
yeah, there's a couple things. There's of course travel. If you thought
Sure.
2026 was travel intensive, I mean 2025, just wait until 2026 because this is going to be an epic year. And so that's definitely on the books. And as of me being here in Cabo, I have officially just made some pretty close connections, business connections here in Cabo, and we might have some investment opportunities over here in Mexico that I will be not considering. I already considered, and I'm going to be moving forward with. And so, I'm a real estate guy by nature, which what I was doing long before I got into the game of high tech and finance and Wall Street and all that. So I'm excited for that. That's going to be some 2026 plans, investments here in Cabo, and man, the portfolio shift is going to be big. I think I'm already going to start it before the end of the year. I'm at just under 370,000 in the portfolio right now. And
Okay,
so I
nice.
have 5 more K to go until I hit that end of year goal then of 375. But
Yeah.
like I'm looking at the calendar and it's not November yet, and I'm just saying like that's 2 months. I think maybe we can surpass 4 hundo. Maybe.
I think you can do it, man. I think there's still enough time. I think you're close enough that it's totally plausible. I think it'll take some heavy contributions unless the market sees a pretty big upswing from here. So I think the contributions are what really is going to make the difference between now and the end of the year. So with that said, it's kind of on you to make it happen in that sense.
I agree, and you know what? Here's kind of my thoughts around this. If I can make a big contribution, and probably I should relax with the last 2 months, aside, with the travel because it's a lot of money. Like it's a lot, man. I'm in an all-inclusive resort now. That's not necessarily that cheap. So I was like, wow, like I could have just thrown this into the market, but also you got to live, So I'm enjoying it. But the way I kind of think about it is, I I think, again, like when Trump tweets something, the whole market moves. And so I almost think that what we're seeing now and experiencing, this is not, investment advice. This is just me, spitballing here. But I almost feel like politically speaking, the best thing that Trump can do right now is create a lot of market volatility. So by the end of the year, we can start to see different headlines, very positive headlines heading into the new year, which is what people love. And he's going to come out at the end of the year looking very victorious. That's kind of
How much?
my 2 cents.
I'm actually glad you brought this up. I was going to ask you about some of the macro stuff that's kind of at play right now. As always, there's a lot of moving parts, but I do think one thing that has had an impact on the market in some way. I've seen it in a couple stocks in my portfolio, namely Clear Secure. I've seen being impacted by this. But how much of an impact do you think this government shutdown thing is having on stocks right now? And with that said, once the government opens back up or gets back to business, do you think we'll see like a surge from that? Where's your head at with that stuff?
Yeah, I don't think the government shutdown is impacting the market as much as other factors are, like still like trade concerns, I think are impacting the market more than the shutdown. I will tell you though, I did go to Joshua Tree National Park like before I came to Cabo, and I got to the park and I drove up, to the entryway, and the woman was like, "You have to pay. It's like $50, I think, to enter the park." And so I rolled down the window and I go, "Do you accept credit cards?" And she goes, "Oh no, not today." we're not accepting anything today. And so I thought she was going to tell me they're closed. Matter of fact, they were open, letting everybody go through. And she said because of the shutdown, we're just not accepting any cash or any payment. So you could just go in. And so that was pretty interesting. And the reason I'm sharing that is again, I just don't think the shutdown is really impacting the market as a whole as much as it is just government employees, which is going to have ultimately a nominal impact, right? It sounds bad, I feel like, to say this, but I don't think it's just going to have a great impact. I think the market is already baked in definitely by this point, this shutdown. And it can't last forever. And so I think that's kind of the general mentality. I think at first, maybe we got some spooks in the headlines, but the bigger deal on the table here is what's going to happen with China in this trade deal, or, this kind of trade tweets that are going on again with Trump. And I think this is just my take, but I think Trump could really be using a lot of this as a way to pull strings in the market. So by the end of the year, if we look at like what just happened like a week or two ago, Trump was like, trade deal with China is on the line again. The whole market fell. And then by Sunday, he was like, all good, right? Market goes right back up and more. So I think we're going to see that. And I think we're going to experience this again. We just kind of saw literally just the other day, right? With quantum computing and AI, and we got news as of this recording that the government might be investing into some of these companies. And so that's huge. We're going to, I think, experience a lot more momentum by the end of the year. That's just what I think.
Okay.
So one of my moves that I've been eager to make, and that I think I'm just going to do it, man. I'm going to put a lot of money right into tech.
Okay. Just in the tech fund?
I think I might sell out of some of my S&P 500 shares, man. And just throw more into tech.
That's my thought
as I was skydiving. That's what I'm thinking about as I'm plummeting to earth. I'm like, how do I make more money?
Now, was this before the chute opened or after the chute opened?
This is on my free fall. And I was, because literally, dude, my thinking is like, I jumped from the plane and I was just like, because my mind is all about this, like, live like a billionaire, invest like a billionaire, and I literally, as I was falling, I was like, do it, just like go big or go home. And it's not even, again, I'm not going risky by investing in like all the tech plays. It's just not a risk, really, in my opinion. When you look into the future and you see how much tech is going to influence and impact all of us.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, I think whether or not it's a risk really depends on your timeline. I think in some ways it's hard not to look at maybe not specifically tech, but the market as a whole. It's hard not to look at it and think, man, it's getting pretty frothy out there. And obviously, as of late, a lot of that does include tech, especially if we are just talking the S&P. And I've actually been talking with my dad about this quite a bit, because my dad's like just entered retirement. And he has a lot in the S&P. Most of his like retirement portfolio, I think, is just in the S&P. And so we've been talking about this quite a bit, just the state of the market and where's it going to go from here, which obviously nobody knows. But I can't help but think that it's getting pretty. I feel like it's getting pretty frothy out there. And so whether or not it's a risk to continue buying into these things, or buying into the market as a whole, the risk level, I think, just depends on your timeline. For someone like you who's got probably another good 30 years before you plan on touching your investments, maybe sooner if you move to East Asia or Bali, and because you could really be balling with your investments over there even right now. But
just wait when I move to, if I do,
you're really going to be a billionaire.
How much money I'm about to throw into the market?
Well, yeah, I was thinking that, like, it's going to really really amplify your ability to throw some contributions in there. But
it's what Jason did, man.
Yeah.
Jason was only able, and this is like, I love Jason, but he was only able to retire early because he moved to East Asia.
Yeah, right.
Like staying in America wasn't going to be feasible for what he was trying to do, which was retire early at 33.
No, definitely. And I mean, I think that's why we see a lot of people kind of making that decision, that geo arbitrage, and it's definitely tempting. I think I don't know about right now, but I think there was a point in time where you could probably do something similar in Cabo. I know there are still places throughout Mexico where it is kind of possible to have that geo arbitrage. Maybe not to the same extent as East Asia, but it's still definitely cheaper than parts of the US. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, like for someone like you, it's not super risky to continue just throwing money into the market or into tech or whatever because your timeline is so long. But for someone like my dad who's like just in a very different place in retirement, and has to be much more protective of the assets that he's built up, the wealth that he's built up. I think it's a tougher decision to make whether or not to continue buying heavy into something like the S&P. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, like, do you really want to go through a potential 20-30% drawdown if and when that does happen? I don't know. It's tough.
The S&P is still pretty tech heavy.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
like really, like even if you're thinking S&P is your safety net, which it is, at the end of the day, the S&P is overly weighted in technology anyways.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull up exactly how much it
And
is in tech.
just to your point, you could do some, relocation to like Mexico or something. This was interesting. The 2 nights ago, I actually have family that does live in Mexico. My sister-in-law is from Mexico, and
Is
so
that who you were with the other night?
yeah. So I took
Okay.
out some family, and for me, it was we went out to this nice seafood restaurant. It was me, her brother, her cousin, and then the brother's wife. And by the end, when the bill came, I grabbed the check. Of course, this became like a little fight who was going to pay, and I was like, no, I totally got this. I threw the credit card down, and I didn't even think twice about it. Right? Just this is like family. I had a great year. Let me cover this thing. I'm just like in a good mood. Let's do it. And I did not care how much that bill came out to, but I will say this: when I saw the bill, it was $90, dude.
What?
I looked online. I didn't look at I literally, when they gave it to me, I didn't even look because I was just like, whatever, right? Because you don't want to be pissed off the moment you sign. It's
Yeah.
like $10,000. It's like, oh crap, I should have split it, right?
Yeah.
But I took the whole bill, and then by the time the next day when I was looking, and I wasn't even going to look at the bill, I was just going to pay my credit card statement. I go, what? $90? That can't be right. The whole
Hmm.
thing was $90. I couldn't even believe it. We had
That
like
is pretty crazy.
appetizers. They had drinks. I don't drink, so I had my mocktail thing. But like, I'm like looking at it, I was just like, this can't be right. But no, it was $90, man. So talk about, and sometimes I saw this on the interview thing I did with Jason. People were like mocking him. He was like, oh yeah, because he moved to East Asia. It's the only reason he's wealthy or this. And I just have to say to that, like, first of all, if that's your mentality, it's wrong. Like, someone who decides to move out of the States or move somewhere else that's cheaper is actually making a massive sacrifice. You are moving out of the comforts of your own country. You are moving across the world or wherever you're moving out of the name of or the mission of financial freedom. And that should be saluted and not put down. I just wanted to share that. And then when you hear like this story, right, like a $90 bill for four people at a good like nice restaurant, man, $90. It's smart to move to places that are affordable instead of drowning yourself out in some of these big cities in the U.S., whether it's New York City or all over L.A. Because fast forward, or I mean rewind, I was in L.A. the other week. Man, I went for a breakfast. Got a breakfast burrito, a coffee, and a croissant. Guess how much?
Breakfast burrito, coffee, croissant. You're probably looking at maybe $40.
Spot on, dude.
Yeah.
$32.
Okay.
$32.
Ooh.
and I just paid 90 for four of us.
So are you saying then that maybe my dad should move to Mexico? Is that
Maybe.
where this was going?
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy him a sombrero.
There you go. Well, he's already got a few, so he might not need another one. But
But maybe, I don't know where. I mean, your family's from California, so maybe he's still in California.
yeah, yeah, totally in California. I was just joking, but no,
I
I mean
think
to
they'll
your
definitely
point.
consider moving out of California. Maybe.
Well, yeah, that would actually, even just that would be like a big advantage. Like anyone who does that would save so much on state taxes. I mean, for us, even just us, and I'm not a super, super, super high income earner, but even just moving myself and my wife moving from California to Nevada, we have noticed a difference in the taxes in quite a big way, and other things too, like gas is cheaper, cost of living generally is cheaper, so you do save in other areas as well. But yeah, I would love it. I'd love it if my parents, either moved out here permanently or at least got a place. And I think with the baby now, I think that's definitely going to incentivize them to do it a bit more. But the thing is, fortunately, on both sides, on both my mom's side and my dad's side, my grandparents are still alive. On my mom's side, my grandma and grandpa are like 91 and 92. And so my mom, takes care of them, and so they obviously can't leave yet for that reason. And then on my dad's side, actually, my grandpa on my dad's side did pass away a few years ago, but my grandma, dude, she's a rock star. I think she's in her mid 80s somewhere, and she's rocking and rolling. She couldn't be healthier. Still has a ton of energy. So yeah, I don't know. At least if they could get a place here at some point, I think that'd be a lot of fun. You know.
I just think it's very wise. That's what I'll share about that. And again, I've just heard of comments, and whether it was interviewing someone that decided to move elsewhere, or even Jason
Yeah.
himself, or people always have something to say, but I don't get it. I don't get when people are like knocking someone who relocates because it's cheaper.
It's because it's non-conventional. It doesn't follow the conveyor belt of life. And I think anything that strays from the norm, anything that's a little bit outside of the box or off the wall, I think is going to get some criticism. But to your point, I don't really understand it either. Whether or not that's something everyone wants to do is a different story. If it's not, whatever. Like, we all live different lives, and talking about your rich life, everyone's rich life is going to look different. And so for someone like Jason Fieber or anyone else who embarks on that geo-arbitrage journey, it's like they're doing so for a certain lifestyle, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's like kind of like you were describing, going to a nice seafood restaurant in Cabo, $90 for a party of five.
Four.
I think it was
Four.
four. So $90 for a party of four. I mean, cost of living there is not too bad. It's definitely getting more expensive. I have looked into it there as well. I've looked into real estate there as well, just for fun. And but it's still great, and it really just depends what kind of lifestyle you want. And I do know there's a lot of retirees who do move to places like Cabo San Lucas, or even Cancun. Like, there's entire communities for expats who do that.
Well, the two guys I skydived with were from Italy,
Okay.
and the pilot was from the U.S. The pilot was 83 years old,
Oh, wow.
from America. He was a retired pilot, which was he didn't look 83, man. He looked like he was early 60s. Like he was. But I did talk to him afterwards, and we had a really good conversation, because I said, "Man, you're in your 80s? You look phenomenal." And he goes, "Yeah, it's because I do what I love." And I was just like, "Wow." And he goes, "It just keeps you young." Like, people who stress themselves out and who are doing things that don't make them happy, they age. But I
Yeah.
am young because I do what I love. And he's like out there, I mean, dropping us off in the sky. That's what he's doing now. But he loves it.
Yeah, man, I feel like you hear that time and time again. Everyone who looks like that, or maybe looks young and is also young at heart. That's why. It's because they live a life that they enjoy, that they don't feel like they need a break from. They're living their rich life, in other words, and
Yeah.
that's the secret. That's the secret.
I just, it's funny because like I can share this, we can share this with people. I can share my experiences with people. But to your point that you made earlier, it's like people are on that conveyor belt, and not doing the unconventional things. But like I even had a comment that came in one time on a video where I spoke about traveling or whatever. I was traveling in the video, and someone commented like, "Oh, he never worked a day in his life."
Uh,
And I laugh at those comments because I'm like, man, I probably worked 10 times harder than you in order to get to where I am today. And like, I'm constantly working around the clock. Even though I'm like in Cabo and doing all these things, I do stay up late. Like the other day, I did 3 podcast episode recordings. I still worked, I still like, but again, it's like how fast I feel like can you come at life and like, again, then your lifestyle. And I think for the last, man, 10 years, really, like I was just working, man, like a workhorse to earn, to invest. Literally the one thing that set me free, that changed it all, was doing all my projections into the future. And of course, changing the strategy. Like that did a lot for me.
yeah. So you still think, and I know we've talked about this before, but you still think if you wouldn't have let me rephrase this question. Do you think that if you would not have made that projection, if you wouldn't have looked into the future and seen, if I just let it do its thing, albeit $11 million dollars or whatever it is, if you didn't do that, do you think you would be on this trip right now?
No,
Yeah.
no way. And you know what's funny though? I know people who do the projections and they still have fear. And I think that comes down, this is going to be pretty interesting. That comes down to trauma. I think there's trauma elsewhere in their life where they hold fear. Because if you do the projections on a conservative, with conservative numbers, and like retirement numbers are looking pretty good for you, that fear should dissipate. But if you do the projections on conservative numbers and you still have fear to live life, there's some other traumas going on in your life that are limiting you entirely from living life.
Like
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 childhood wounds, insecurities. Oh yeah. Like people maybe telling you you're not good enough, so therefore it's like no matter how much you get, you just have to keep chopping
yeah.
at that tree.
I kind of understand that though, and I think that's, at least speaking personally, I think a couple of those things are hard to avoid. I think the maybe the fear of not ever having enough is something that a lot of us can deal with because there's no cap on your portfolio. It can grow into perpetuity, to infinity, and so I think it is hard to know. I think it's easy. It's, how do I say this? I think it's easy to look at any dollar that you take out at some point as being something that could have compounded into more, if that makes sense. And so I think when you are constantly thinking about what a dollar can turn into with time and compounding, it keeps you in a mindset where you are afraid to take any of it out because you don't want to you don't want to disrupt the compounding process. I think a lot of us are afraid to do so. At least speaking personally, like when I hear you talking about that, that's how I think about it. And when it comes to my portfolio too, it's like I think when's going to be enough? When's going to be a good time to start taking stuff out? Is it when the portfolio hits $1 million? Is it when it hits $1.5 million or 2 million or X dollars in income per month or whatever? And I have a number in mind, but then on the other side of that, it's like, well, okay, but if you start doing that, it's really going to slow things down. Like if you just keep it in, it's going to keep growing. So, just keep it growing. And I think that's knowing that you are purposefully slowing down progress. I think is a scary thought that maybe can leave one with some guilt. And I'm totally like thinking out loud or spitballing here, but I'm trying to dissect this, especially like with myself as the test subject. But then attached to that, it's also hard to avoid the feeling of feeling like maybe you're not good enough, especially when with the advent of social media, it's so easy to compare yourself to what everyone else is doing. And that's especially true now with investing, where you can see everyone else's portfolio. So I think that kind of keeps you in that same sort of negative feedback loop, if you will.
Yeah, I'll put it like this, man. When I was in LA at the rooftop, the Blossom tour, I there was a kid that was there that was, his portfolio was 300 and something thousand, and I was like, I'm 31 and my investment portfolio there on Blossom is at 370, and this kid's at something 300. And so that could have either have been me saying like, wow, I need to double down and I need to outbeat this guy, and because I'm 31 and he's like just graduated from college. But you know what, man? It's like you also, just perspectively speaking, have to realize that we came from different places.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
had a different set of circumstances growing up and even into adulthood. I never lived at home. That's something that I think we spoke about this plenty before, right?
Yeah.
There are some people that we know that live at home and they're
We
investing $5,000-$7,000 a month to get their portfolio up where it's at now. But like, dude, you never paid rent. Like you're living at home. Your lattes are covered by mommy and daddy. Like
Yeah, we got in some hot water over that conversation a
I
little
know, I
bit.
know.
Yeah.
And here I am again, man, dousing myself in steam.
Well,
But
even so, it's like
it's true.
it's not it's not, I don't want to say it's like talking down on them for that situation, because that's just what they were born into. That's their life, and everyone's is different. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think we also need to remember that it is not a game of competition where you are competing with everyone else and trying to beat everyone else. It really is just about making progress for yourself and bettering your own financial future. And I will say, like, going back to using myself as a test subject, that I'm fortunate that is one thing I don't do. I do not, certainly do not compare my portfolio to anyone else's. So I will say I'm actually good in that department. But the other side of it, the fear of the fear of maybe feeling like your portfolio won't be as big as it should be, or knowing that it could always be larger, is something that I think about from time to time. But you have to, I mean,
But
you've
did
got
you
to
ever
start
like
using those investments at some point. So
you ever like sit down though with your wife and just be like, what are we like? What's the end game here? Like, what do we actually want?
no, because I think the things that we want, we already have. Really, like I think that I don't know. I don't think there's anything that we would change about our lives. I mean, eventually we'd like to have a bigger house with an extra bedroom. But other than that, man, we live great lives. We get to do the things that we want. Everyone's happy. Everyone's healthy. Yeah, I mean, we're not big vacationers, a couple times a year. We like going to Cabo and doing what you're doing right now. We love going to Newport Beach, but like that's about as adventurous. We like going to Disneyland too, but that's about as adventurous for us as it gets. So as long as we can, do those things from time to time while we're home, maybe go to Red Robin every once in a while, or Cafe Rio, or In-N-Out Burger, eat out every once in a while, have some fun on the strip, work hard and spend time with each other and our family, then, I mean, that's really what the things that we care about. We get to do all of those things. So, I mean, having more money would obviously be nice, but we live so far below our means right now that like any extra money that we have is just going to go into, it's not going to go towards like buying more stuff, it's going to go into just buying more assets, I suppose. Because everything else, like we're good otherwise, we don't really want for too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean that it keeps you kind of, in the motion of just continuing to invest and like enjoying the simplicity. Because for me, when I ask myself that question, like when I look into the future, it's like love travel so much, man. Like I want to see the world, So on the other end, like I don't want a big house or anything. I
Yeah.
want like a world. My world to be experiential, and like and like that is my home. Like I feel most at home actually when I'm on the road and meeting new people.
Hmm.
Like, dude, I had 3 hours in LA I'm sorry, the LAX, and at one of the hotels in the morning before my next flight. And there was this girl in the lobby, and she had a bag with her in like a backpack, and she was sitting there. I was making a video, and I was like, she's probably a solo traveler. Like she kind of looks like a solo traveler.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't leave after like 10 minutes. Like she was just sitting there waiting for whatever as well. And so I went up to her, man. I just started talking to her, and then we spoke for the whole 3 hours. And she was a solo traveler, and like that conversation was so epic because just like what she wanted out of life is like exactly what I'm describing now. It's like this life of like traveling and experiences, and you love being on the road. You love seeing new places, meeting new people, and swapping stories. I feel like that's the new investment for me. It's like how many memories and experiences can I make to then trade with other travelers? It's I don't
That's
know, man.
cool.
I find a great deal in like being able to share those stories, and like, and then she was telling me, dude, like she's in Yosemite right now, um, camping out in a van. Like, it's awesome, man. And she was sending pictures of like like, it's a beautiful, man. She went to Yosemite, then she drove somewhere else. But like, I'm like, I want to do that too, like, and that's, again, that's my rich life speaking.
Yeah, I think the van life is tempting too. There's just something about, I will say, and you mentioned you don't want a big house or anything like that. I don't really either. I think there's something very, I don't know what the right word is. There's something I really enjoy just about simplicity. I always talk to my mom about this quite a bit. Like one of my goals in life is to just not make it too complicated. I don't ever want things to get too complicated or too out of hand. Because that's where, that's just where a lot of stress comes from. And I think a lot of things that I think things get overcomplicated if you have a lot of things that you don't exactly need. You're trying to chase these different things that you want but maybe don't necessarily need. So at all times, I'm trying to just stick to the basics and stick to the things that I think really matter. And at least for me, that's the people here in this household. That's the purpose that I get from doing everything that I do here on the internet. That's all the other things that I do in my life already. It's like if I can just keep doing that and not try to complicate it too far beyond that, then we should be living a pretty good life for a long time.
I'm there with you, man, on the simplicity. I always try to, after every trip, while on the trip or after the trip, ask myself, like, what really are you taking away from this experience? Like what you're experiencing right now. And this particular trip, I think I still need to downsize in terms of like specifically like my wardrobe. So this
Yeah.
trip, I mean, I usually only bring like one suit with me, and then like that the business attire. And then I have two black shirts, two white shirts, two pairs of black shorts, my running shoes, loafers, a bunch of boxers and socks. And that's it. And like this trip, I'm like, man, when I go home, I can get rid of my closet. Like at this rate, like, and in my closet right now, I think is actually like two more black shirts and one more white
Yeah.
shirt, like,
Yeah.
but it just goes to show like you can just keep downsizing to the bare bones of the necessities. And that is all I need, man. And I'm so happy with less. And therefore, what's awesome about this all is like talk about finding money to invest. You have bundles of money to invest when you're simple.
Mm-hmm. I will say on that note, I mean, I'm the same way. It's just black t-shirts, white t-shirts, just very plain stuff. We've got a few pairs of pants, couple pairs of jeans, few jackets. It's very, very basic stuff that I'm going to have. Like if I treat it well, stuff that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. This shirt, I'm not even joking. I've had this shirt that I'm wearing for probably over a dozen years, and I'm going to have this thing forever. And so on
You're
that
going to be
note,
buried in that shirt.
yeah, so on that note, one of my hobbies outside of investing is obviously it's watch collecting, which I've talked about quite a bit. And there's this one watch that I've really, really really been wanting lately. I went and tried it on last time we were down on the strip. This was a few weeks ago. We went to the Breitling store. We were just passing by. I just wanted to pop in. And there's this watch that Breitling has called a Top Time. It's a Top Time B31, I believe is the model number. Very cool. Like blue dial, perfect size. It's like, anyway, for me, I just fell in love with this watch when I put it on. Now the price tag, Breitling's a nice brand. The price tag was about 6 grand for this watch. And that's not surprising. Watches can be that expensive. And, the thing about watches, or a good watch, is you can have it forever. So you pay 6 grand, you're going to have this thing. You can pass this thing down to your kids. That's kind of like one of the draws to the hobby, at least for me. But still, and so with that said, I walked out of the store being like, that's my next watch. I want to buy it. I'm going to make it happen. And as time has gone on, I still want this watch, but in my mind, when I think about it, I keep coming back to the thought of, you just don't need it. It's something shiny that's really, you want it because you don't have it, basically. The thing is, though, if I were to buy this watch, if I were to spend the money on this watch, it would be nice. I'd like the watch, but after a certain point in time, or after a certain amount of time, I should say, the novelty is going to wear off. It's going to feel, wearing that watch is going to feel just like wearing this like $100 Seiko to me will. And so, and I know that to be true, even though I like that watch. I love this watch too. $100-something watch versus a 6 grand watch. I'm going to love it the same. And so I always settle back to that and think, you just don't need it. I think if you give into those things, or let yourself give into those things and create a habit of that, it becomes a dangerous cycle. And I think kind of fighting against that and having that will to say no to something that's a want, especially when you already have a collection of other watches, I think it keeps your mind grounded, and I think it keeps you focused on the things that actually do matter. And I think, now with the family, I think that same amount of money that I could put on my wrist, that is multiple trips to Cabo or Newport Beach or Disneyland. That is like memories that could be made with the people that I love. And when I think about, spending that money, I think that is just a much more meaningful way to do it. So I think we're good on the watch for now. Sorry for the tangent.
No, it's interesting to listen to you speak on that tangent, because
Well, I'm glad someone finds it interesting.
I was waiting. First of all, I liked how you just kept throwing time in there, and I was just like, oh, that's great, because it's like you're talking about a watch, and there's just all these plays on words. But no, on a real note, I thought about a couple things. One, I would say I definitely understand where you're coming from, being an investor and being, someone who's frugal. But I also would say that it sounds like, your real passion does come from watch collecting. And I would imagine with every watch, you have a story. Maybe?
Yes, that's very true. And it's funny, I was actually talking to my friend Danny, shout out Danny, on Instagram. We were messaging about this exact thing. That's the thing about watches, especially the ones in my collection. Each one has a story. This was the first watch that I ever got, and my mom bought me this watch. Every time I wear this watch, I'm going to think of that birthday present from my mom. And, someday down the road, that's really going to mean, it's really going to be a good memento. And I've, all the other watches in my collection have a story kind of attached to it like that. I have one of my uncle's watches that I got when he passed away. I've worn it before, but it's a watch that he got when he retired he worked for Chevron for his career. And so this is the watch they gave him for like working there for 30 years. So it's got like a little, it's engraved on the back with that. And it also has like a little Chevron emblem right here. So that's a special one too. And then, like I said, all the other ones have something similar to that. So there is that to it. You're right. You're totally right.
Look, I have some mementos from my hero, my grandfather, and you couldn't pay me $1 million, man, for me to sell it. No joke. Wouldn't sell it for $1 million. Wouldn't sell it for $1 billion.
Yeah.
because my grandfather is literally everything to me, you know. Not
Hmm.
was, remains, you know, even though he's passed, he's everything. And so you could, I just, you, there's not a price tag on that thing. And it's one of the only things, right, that's like that with.
Sure.
So, you know, I think when you have that level of connection or a passion to something, it's worth the buy. But here's where I'm going to spin it for you, man. I think that in order for you to really feel satisfied in buying that watch, you need to create your own story around that watch. You can't just go willy-nilly buy it. I think you need to set yourself up for a goal. And like maybe it's when you hit 100,000 subscribers, time to buy the watch, baby.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you bring that up. So when I first put on the watch, this was, I mean, this was like days before, our baby was born. So when that was happening, I was thinking this could be like a good excuse to buy it to commemorate the birth of our baby. I didn't do it then. I think the window's passed now. But to your point, it's funny that you say that because that was the next. I've had probably three different conversations with my wife about this gosh darn watch, going back and forth. I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. I'm not. And the last conversation we had, I said exactly that. I said, well, maybe when I hit 100,000 subscribers, like that will be the gift to myself. To your point, I think that's the only way that it really makes sense. And I think like, in developing an affinity for a watch, yes, it's about the way that it looks. You're drawn to it. When you put it on, it's just like, yeah, you got to have it. So there's that. But also it's so much more magnetizing when you've got some sort of sentimentality that you can attach to it. And so I think that could be an excusable purchase, a reason to purchase. So
There's never been a single trip, even the trip I'm on right now. Why am I in Cabo? Right now, well, I am actually, my birthday was on October 12th. So I went on like a birthday trip. That's what this was considered. And I never used to even celebrate my birthday at all, right? But then even before that, like, why did I go to Italy, and do the Amalfi Coast the way that I did it? Is because I crushed not one but two portfolio goals this year. And if I do it right over the next 2 months, I could potentially hit 3 portfolio goals this year. So I always just say earn your victory lap, right? Like, you don't just coast into your victory, like, earn
yeah.
it. And so
See,
you hitting 100,000 subscribers, or even if you went like, hey, I'll buy that watch at $150,000 within my portfolio, right? Like, that's what's going to give you, I think, the I don't want to say confidence, the kind of green light to say, you know what? Like, I worked really freaking hard. And shout out to Business with Brian for this, because this Business with Brian really is the one a couple of years ago who, after a good conversation with him, really made me reevaluate how I was celebrating. Right? Like, and it turns out, now this is the suggestions that I give to others. I gave it to a kid even at the Blossom Conference. When you celebrate your wins, what really does happen is you generate a ton of momentum for the next win, because you're like, wow, I just went to Italy and that was a heck of a trip. I want to do that again. But in order to do that again, I need to do this, this, and that. And so then you do it, but you're coming at it with 10x the amount of energy.
yeah. No, that's a good point, man. And it's definitely something I've thought about. And then going back to the whole watch thing versus other ways that you could spend that money, and also, like, in tying it back to this book too, I was actually thinking about this last night as I cracked this thing open. That same amount of money, no matter, well, let's say it's for $100,000. Let's say I'm going to do something not $100,000. Let's say I do something when I hit 100,000 subscribers, right? I could either buy that watch, which would be great. We've talked all about that already, but I could still take that same amount of money. Maybe that could go towards like a 3-week trip to Newport Beach with my family. We just 3 weeks, get a beach house, just kind of not veg out, but like just go for 3 weeks, Like that'd be so awesome. Probably even more awesome. And it would allow others to benefit from it as well, besides just myself. So that's something that I think about too, because it's
Do
not,
you know what
you
a
know,
billionaire would say though?
do both.
Do both.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's man.
Maybe that.
I took my brother to Hawaii with me. The because like did we podcast when I was in Hawaii?
Uh,
I don't think so. But I
no, I
was
don't
in
think we
Maui
did.
like a couple weeks ago. I think we did. Oh, that's what it was. We did the podcast in the hotel, and then I flew to Maui. So, anyways, I took my brother with me to Maui, and I kind of, my brother's in between jobs right now, and being with me, man, like all of you experience me through the screen, but being with me in person is a different energy. I mean, if you think I have high energy on this screen, just try being with me when I'm skydiving or doing other things. And so my brother is with me, and we're driving down some Maui highway or pathway, whatever you want to call it. And I'm talking to my brother about this notion of playing like a billionaire, you know? and it's an energy, man, but it's like, yeah, would a billionaire be afraid to lose $1,000? No. You're probably thinking too small if you're afraid to lose $1,000. Would a billionaire be afraid to go after both things? No, right? So in my world, and maybe this is just my crazy world, a billionaire, that billionaire mentality isn't about making foolish decisions. It's just about going for the whole cake.
You're right, and this actually, this is why I'm glad that we're having these conversations, because you're spot on, and this actually ties back to something that we talked about a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago at this point, and it's the flow of money. Like, to your point, like a billionaire, someone, a billionaire would not disrupt that flow of money. They would put it out there, and this isn't like an excuse to go and spend all your money just to expect it to come back, but they would put it out there knowing that, just in their universe, money flows, so it will somehow find its way back to them, probably more abundantly than what they put out. And so I think I need to keep that in mind as well. And you're right,
Well,
not be afraid to do these things. But it's tough, dude. It's tough as a just inherently frugal person to get over that, and to know like where the balance is. Once again, we've talked about this all the time, to know where the balance is between having that money to invest or to save or whatever, and being responsible with it, and also, knowing when to spend it and where to spend it. It's hard to strike that balance. And I'm
I'll
always
say
trying
this
to
though,
figure that
man.
out.
Do your projections. And if you are projecting out some solid numbers, like, then realize you're okay. Like, that's number one. The second thing I'll say is this. After you do the projections, because I get it. I was actually in that same frame of mind. I was like, is it okay for me to spend, like, I'm a frugal guy, right? But like, also, it's not like I'm frugal on everything, and then I ball out with my vacations, because that's what brings me happiness. And so, if watches really do bring you a sense of joy and happiness, and you like the stories of, I earned this watch, like, that is a part of you and your happiness and your journey. And more than that, imagine this. Let's project out and even get like more specific. Let's say that it's 20 years from now, 30, no, let's go farther than that, 40 years from now, and me and you are doing our last deep end episode because we're dying. and like,
Speak
you
for
now,
yourself, man.
I probably died in like a skydiving accident, man, or like
You
a
know,
base jumping.
you're going to be the 83-year-old pilot.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows, man? I might base jump next. I was talking about
Oh
that with this.
gosh.
I know
Whew.
it's crazy, man. But dude, it's Richard Branson, man. I was watching a Richard Branson documentary yesterday. It was epic. I totally aligned with Richard Branson. But let's just project out. Okay, let's say 50 years, whatever. We're 102 years old. Just like let's go all out.
All right.
And your daughter is sitting next to you now after this last deep end episode, and you pull out this watch, and you're like, my love, this watch is when I had 100,000 subscribers, but I want you to have it because that was a part of me chasing my dreams. And I want this watch to remind you to go after your dreams. And I think now you've given her the gift of what goals are and what deep meaning can be delivered through chasing your goals. Like, that's how I think about things.
You're going to make me cry,
and now that
man.
watch isn't just a watch, dude. It's a memento for someone else. Because like my grandfather, you know, I have this memento from him. And every time I hold it, I have it with me. I'm like, wow, like this is not just this thing, right? It's like, it's my grandfather. It's his story. It's all of him. And it's now a part of me. And so I think some of these things are so much bigger. Like, they're a part of the reason why I'm on these trips and skydiving and all this stuff is because by the time I have kids, and I want to gift them with the experience of stories. And I'll even share this, man. I was at a conference a few weeks back, and I did not know one of the prospects that I wanted to meet. And when I met him, I'm going to change his name to, Jacob, whatever. But when I met Jacob, I put out my hand, some small talk, and he goes, so, how have you been doing? And I go, I am phenomenal. I just got back from Albania. And he goes, whoa, that's awesome, Albania. And then I was like, yeah, Albania. And it's like, it's like Greece, but the north is the Alps, the south is the, like more like Greece and the beaches and resorts and all this stuff. And so what I'm really getting at, man, is that my experience wasn't just an experience for me. It was an experience for Jacob. And then what happened was, not only did I close the deal based off of him saying like, man, you got energy that I've never seen before. And like, this passion is amazing. A couple weeks later, he called me up and he goes, hey, it seems like you travel a lot. My wife and I are looking to take a trip in this region. Do you have any recommendations? And so
that's
what
kickstarted your travel planning career.
My business, my travel planning business. No, but all of a sudden, my experience has now been shared, and it's so much more than Ari going to Albania, right? It was Ari going to Albania because he was going to meet this guy Jacob, and now all of a sudden Jacob goes somewhere else in that region based off a recommendation that I made because I shared that story with him, and so. Me investing, this is why I now consider it an investment. Just like billionaires consider everything they do as an investment, they don't just buy an island to buy an island. That's stupid. They buy an island to host business executives on the island and close more deals. They host massive events on the island that they just bought. And all of a sudden, because they own the island, they're not paying for everything else that goes with it. They own it. All I'm getting at is live like a billionaire, right? Like, the watch is not just a watch.
That's true. And you never know who's going to notice it and strike up a conversation with you because they see it. Yeah. So with that said, I think I need to go get my shoes on and
He's going to
head down to the Breitling store. No, to be honest with you, all jokes aside, man, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's actually really helpful. Yeah, I think I'll probably end up doing it.
Let's go.
Thank you. I'll try and do both too. And that's going back to what you were saying earlier. That's a good goal to shoot for. Try and do both. Do something for yourself, but also do something for your family.
And just like a little icing and sprinkles on this cake, I would guarantee you that your wife is probably cheering you on to get it.
Probably. Well, I want to get her one too at some point. That's another, not the same
do
watch,
all
but
three, baby.
Yeah, and that's something I thought about too.
Crazy.
Maybe I'll get hers first, then get mine after. But that's another thing I want to work towards too. So that's
this
in the
is
works.
Playing like a billionaire at its finest.
Well, we're working on it, man. It's not you don't adopt the billionaire mindset in one foul swoop. I'm learning it's a slow evolution. You got to chip away at the old self to
That's a fact.
Unveil the new one.
That's a fact. It does take a bit of getting comfortable with yourself. And, this is my truth, man. I did those projections, and I had to actually do some rewiring in my head to say, like, no, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You can do these things. And then I started doing some of these things, and I was like, wow, it's really okay. And a matter of fact, Ryan, since I started doing all of it, look where my portfolio's at, man.
That's true.
It's only gone up.
That's true.
Like, and I've hit the second goal this year that I wanted to hit, which is crazy. Because at the same token, I've been spending money doing these billionaire vacations. So like it's all going to be okay at the end, and the reason it's all going to be okay is because I think me and you and others who are out there, we've already done the hard lifting, the heavy lifting of either creating the portfolio or, more importantly, creating the mindset.
Yeah. Well, on that note, man, I'm definitely overthinking it. Like I think I knew that before this conversation. I'm very sure of it now after having this conversation. I'm definitely overthinking the whole thing. And the silly thing, or probably the silliest thing about it, is that even in making this decision, whichever way, like if I were to do it, it's not going to impact the portfolio. I don't have to sell stock to do it. I can still invest and do this other thing that I want to do. And so I can have my cake and eat it too. And so it's not like it's disrupting the balance between saving or investing versus spending. Like I can do both. And that's, I think that in itself is evidence that I'm really overthinking the whole thing. So, but it's tough, cause it's not a small amount of money. So, it feels like a big decision. So anyway. But no, this has been helpful.
Next time for Ryan's watch reveal.
Yeah. Well, who knows, man? And I'm going to talk to my wife about after this. So I don't mean to like go on a tangent too, because I know we got to wrap it up. But Breitling also has deals where you can finance it with 0% interest for like 30 months. You just have to put 20% down.
Your wife's going to kill me.
So it's like, no, she was encouraging me. Honestly, man, okay. I was the one who was like, no, I don't think I should do it. She was encouraging me, like you were saying, she's definitely cheering me on. But like Breitling, they're going to make it easy. You don't even have to put the full thing down. Like you can put 20 or 30% down and pay monthly at 0% interest if you want to. At this point. There's really after now having this conversation, like I'm being dumb about it. I really am. I'm being dumb about it.
Next episode of The Deep End, Ryan will be in Cabo on a yacht with his watch. And his whole life changed.
Well, I look forward now. Now I look forward to being able to buy it at some point and show you guys here on The Deep End. It's a cool watch.
There we go. We all have something to look forward to now.
Yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up, man?
Man, on my way free falling at 120 miles back to Earth, I just said, you get one life. Enjoy it and live it. That's what I'll just conclude this one with. Play like a billionaire. Cool.
Last thing before we do close it up, though. I want to go back to the book club. Guys, get your copy of Retire Often by Jillian Johnsrud. Sorry, I'm really going to have to get her name down. Get your copy of this book. Join us in the Deep End Book Club. Let us know in the comments if it is something you do plan on participating in. Just once again, and we'll be sure to mention it next week and the subsequent weeks as well. But
email us.
Yeah, shoot us an email, drop us a comment, whatever. Let us know if you're going to be tuning in or if you're going to be joining the book club with us. We're going to start reading November 1st, have the book done by the end of November, and then early December we'll set up a Zoom call. I'll hop on, shoot the breeze. Get really down in the deep end with this book, and then soon after that, hopefully we'll be able to interview the author. It's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Almost an hour and 15 minutes. Really good episode. Hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you in the next one.